So to get started, hello everyone, and thank you for joining us this evening. So my name is Kyler McCoy, and I'm a senior at Penn State Barron, studying finance with a great interest in the entrepreneurship scene here in Erie. I'm actually from North Carolina, so I haven't been growing up in the Erie community, and it's definitely been interesting to see how it's developed in the few years that I've been here. So we will be doing a panel discussing Erie's entrepreneurial ecosystem along with the services every entrepreneur should know about. I will first be asking the panelists to introduce themselves one by one, and then we will move on to questions. I have a set of my own to ask our panelists, but those in the audience, please don't hesitate to send your questions in because we will be weaving them in as we go about the panel discussion. So first, let's get started with Jake Marsh from Penn State Barron.
Hi, thank you, Kyler, and thank you for everyone for joining us. And I have the pleasure of speaking on behalf of the Beehive to give a little bit of history. So I'd like to introduce the Innovation Beehive Network, which is a recently developed and very quickly growing resource for entrepreneurs in Erie. It began as a concept about 5 years ago, testing with the first Beehive, and with the success of that, we have since grown to have one at every university in the region. So each of those universities has their own Beehive site. They each do their own thing that they're very good at that they will tell you all about in a moment. And this was something that we're very happy to tell people about. We've had a great amount of success over the past 5 years in it growing, having done over 400 projects for entrepreneurs and for industry and for the community in the region. And the concept is based on the idea of the lowest possible barrier to entry. So everything that we do as a Beehive Network is free. It is also almost completely done by students at the universities. So this is also an amazing opportunity for students to get experience working on things that are real, that are happening right now. These are real inventors, real businesses, and it's something that they can get connections to, but it also gives them a large amount of confidence, which they need if they're considering running their own business. And that has happened numerous times with the students that work on these projects. They've gone on to launch their own businesses, patent their own products. So just an introduction to what we do at Penn State Barron's Beehive. Our Beehive is called the Innovation Commons. And what we do is design and rapid prototyping. So if you've got an idea for an invention that is a physical product, has a physical component, our students meet with you and help you on a start today kind of method. So we could start pretty much right away, develop a product. So we can do product design in the engineering sense. We can do CAD, 3D printing, electronics, and these are all services that we can provide you for free, and you retain ownership of all the intellectual property and everything that comes out of it. We're also launching an app development service, so we will be able to help you develop actual app software. Now we'll be doing fewer of those projects and being a bit more selective about them because of the manpower that goes into it. But we wanted to be able to offer that service for those of you out there who are looking for something a little more software related. One more note I'll say before we go on is one of the real key features of this network is support of the community, right? So if there's something in there that you're not quite sure about, that you're not quite sure if this is the service for you, we're there to support you by either trying it anyway or sending you to the right people in the community, in the ecosystem in Erie, so that you can be connected to the right person, even if it's not us. So, okay, that's it for us.
Thank you so much, Jake. Next, we'll have Brian Fuller with Mercyhurst Beehive.
Thanks for having me, and Kyler, thank you for the introduction. Jake, good job. So As Jake said, we're part of the Northwest PA Beehive Innovation Network, along with the other universities that you'll hear from here shortly. Specifically here at Mercyhurst, we have what's called the Innovation Entente Lab, or the IEL as we refer to it. And what we provide entrepreneurs is competitive business intelligence research and collection of data that's needed for developing their business models and plans, and understanding the market landscape that they may be, or industry they may be trying to enter into. We do that in numerous different ways. We provide a lot of information based on your market or your industry, best practices, worst practices, best practices for social media use. We help locate funding streams or potential funding streams. And we can look into, really get in the weeds and looking at your specific idea, whether it's a product, business expansion, whatever it is that you need, and helping you to further develop, that idea into how it's going to be successful in the marketplace. And then we gladly send you with that data over to one of the other Beehive members, over to Gannon with the small business, the SMDC, and we'll send you down to Edinboro to help with what they do with the branding. And then if we find that it's something you need to develop as a widget or you need engineering help with, we'll send you over to Barron. But we help with that, giving you the data you need to be successful in the rest of the Beehive. Thanks, Kyler.
Thank you, Brian. Next, we'll have Tony Perrinel with Edinboro Beehive.
Thanks, Kyler. I direct the Center for Branding and Strategic Communication here at Edinboro. That's our Beehive. As Brian alluded to, we essentially operate, try to provide the same services that any strategic marketing communication firm would provide. We do traditional media relations, we do social media management and planning, we do graphic design ranging from basic logo development, letterhead, business cards, brochures, and newsletters, and we do full web design as well. Now, we're a little different in how we operate from some of our colleagues, because 90%, probably about 90%, certainly majority of our work is done by students in existing courses under faculty supervision. That works for some clients. It doesn't work for everyone because it sort of puts us on that 15-week semester schedule. I do have 2 part-time faculty members who work with me who are fabulous. Scott Glad, who is a great graphic designer. Some of you may know him because he also does most of the design work for Erie Apparel. He's our creative director. And Chris Lantinen, who was part of, along with Jake Marsh, was part of this year's Erie Readers 40 Under 40 class. Chris is our social media specialist and podcasting specialist. We have strategically, to help promote the Beehive Network, we have launched a new podcast. We're in our inaugural season. It's called Buzz Generated. I would suggest checking that out wherever you go for your podcast, because we interview Beehive clients and interesting business people, and that's a good way to get a feel. They'll tell you what it was like to go through the experience. And we're starting a little more to look for branding opportunities for the Beehive as a whole, because as Brian, Brad, Jake, as we've talked, and Jude, we realize we spend so much time working hard for clients that not everyone knows who we are as a Beehive. So we've tried to put more attention on branding our network as a whole and looking for partnerships. And sometimes we do that through client selection. This summer we ran social media for the Erie Blues and Jazz Festival. Scott Glad designed their logo. And that was a great way to get our Beehive marketing materials on with a lot of great sponsors. And we're doing that right now with the Prescal Partnership and their Prescal Lights event. My colleague Chris is going to run social media for that. So the Beehive name, the Beehive marketing will be on those materials. So I wanted to close with the fact that we are cognizant that we don't always do enough to promote ourselves because we're working so hard for other clients.
Thank you, Tony. Next, we'll have Brad Gleason with the Gannon Beehive.
I love what Tony just said. So Gannon's Innovation Beehive is also student run. We have a team of students that have three primary products. We look for the entry-level entrepreneur to come to us, and we try to provide, one is called a crowdfunding friendly analysis, where we give you a sense of where your product may or may not be strong on the Kickstarter crowdfunding rewards-based platform. We also have a startup capital best practice analysis, where we find competitors out there in the country and world and show you how they have stood themselves up financially through their progression. And then last, we help you with an early entry PowerPoint deck. The reason we do that is to just let them start getting their ideas down so that they can take that on to what as Brian has said earlier, we refer you to the remainder of the Beehive network, the Gannon Small Business Development Center, and a number of great funders out there that start preparing them for more advanced steps to start their business. One point that Jake had made in an earlier panel that's important to say, there's no wrong entry to the system. There's no barrier to entry. We welcome those ideas. That's how you get started. So I have to stress that before passing it back on to Kyler.
Thank you, Brad. Next, we'll have Jude Shingle with the Idea Lab with the Erie County Library.
Thanks, Kyler. Hey, everyone. Glad you're here. So again, my name is Jude. I'm from the Blasco Library Idea Lab, and I'm a librarian. And so it's a little, maybe you're thinking, why is a library part of this panel? It's an excellent question. And we're the fifth hive. So libraries have actually always been places for business. We've always had free internet, free meeting space, copy and print services, books, databases, classes. It's always been a nice community resource for someone who is starting a business or running a business. But in this brief introduction, I just want to focus on kind of two things that the Idea Lab's doing. The first one is we have a makerspace, which is a way to expand our collection. So we have books and movies and all kinds of things that you could check out at the library. Well, now we have 3D printers, laser cutters, sewing machines, vinyl cutters, audio recording, video recording. We have all those resources that are free to you now at the library. So that's a great way to generate businesses and ideas. Someone can come in and actually start making items, and maybe they have a side hustle or craft business or something like that. But it also means that some of those startup costs can be offset because we can do large format printing for very cheap. We can do 3D printing prototypes for very cheap. And we're also the folks who are going to educate you how to do that. So it's a great place to start and then kind of grow as your business grows. The second thing that we have are educational programs for people who are just starting. And that's if you have an idea on the back of a napkin, or you started a business and suddenly you're stuck and you don't know what you're doing, we have educational programs that are really made for you. So every month in 2021, we're going to have workshops for people who are starters. So someone who has a business idea and really just kind of wants to see what it's like to start a business, or they have questions and want to go through a thorough step-by-step process. But we also will have something called Refocus, and that's really aimed at folks who are struggling with, COVID-19 or any kind of pivot that they need to take. It's a nice formal way to go through that. And I just want to stress that this is for really the programs for those who don't see themselves as entrepreneurs. So those who look at something like minimum viable product and have no idea what that is, or someone who is just frightfully afraid of what the break-even point or something like that. The programs at the library are really meant for folks like that, who maybe don't see themselves as looking for $1 million capital funding, but really just want to have a business that maybe makes $10,000, $50,000 a year. We're a great resource for you there. And again, just glad we're here. Thank you.
Thank you, Jude. And before we move on, Kathy had a quick question, wondering if the Idea Lab is currently open, and if so, what hours?
Kathy, a great question. So makerspaces across the country are challenged by COVID because it's really a hands-on space. The short answer is we're looking at 2021, January, as being a a way where our services will be appointment based. So you can come in and make an appointment, and we'll have kind of social distancing and nice kind of cleanliness issues figured out there. We're also going to make a lot of our services online. So you can submit 3D prints, vinyl cutting, large format printing online. We'll help. You can come in for like consultations and we can help you design. But if you're really just looking to, you've already designed it and you want us to help you print those, we'll have that available in 21. So January is our goal there.
Thank you. So just to clarify, you are not open right now.
Currently, we're not open, and the library, unfortunately, is going back to a limited curbside service. We were open for the public for probably the last few months. Starting this Saturday, unfortunately, our buildings will be closed to the public. You can only do curbside service. So you check out books online, and then we drop them off to you at the curb.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jude. Next, we'll have Jordan Fuller. Sorry, I muted myself. Next, we'll have Jordan Fuller with the Erie Chamber and Growth Partnership.
Hi, I'm Jordan Fuller with the Chamber. I am the head for and point of contact for any entrepreneurial requests or activities coming out of the Chamber, as well as the director of the Secure Erie Accelerator. The Chamber is leading Erie's economic evolution through awareness, advocacy, and access to the people, education, and information businesses need to thrive. Some of the services we make available to any chamber or community members include business action team visits, access to the flagship opportunity zone, the Arcturus opportunity zone, as well as the competitive realities and target industry reports, access to our government affairs and capital formation staff members, as well as access to the extensive chamber network. In addition to all of that is sort of the new feature of the chamber coming over recently is the Secure Erie Accelerator. We were previously an independent organization. Before that, we were part of under Mercyhurst. Now we're at the chamber. We're entering our 4th year. It's a short-term business accelerator program. We've attracted startup companies from around the world to lay down business roots here. We've assisted our portfolio companies grow by accepting over $18 million in additional investment capital and have grown to do over $20 million in stable revenues. So where we thrive is the pre-seed and seed stage for that program specifically. But any company can come in and talk to the chamber. All of our resources can be brought to bear on any size organization or entrepreneur. Doesn't matter how young or how early in the stage you are. We have something that can help out just about anyone. So that's it for us.
Thank you, Jordan. Next, we'll have Maggie Horn with the Small Business Development Center.
Thank you. The Gannon Small Business Development Center is entering its 40th year of serving Northwest Pennsylvania. Erie, Warren, Crawford, and Mercer are the 4 counties that the Gannon SBDC oversees. We're one of 16 centers in the state of Pennsylvania. We are a very large network. And if you're working with us, we can give you access and you'll have access to the entire network. We work with both startup and existing. Between 500 and 600 is the typical year of the number of clients we work with, and about half of those are startup and the other half existing. We work with one-on-one, and we also have educational programming. Our one-on-one consulting is at no cost to our clients, and we provide business and strategic planning, capital acquisition, including financial projection development, determining appropriate funding sources, financial management for day-to-day. We have an environmental management part of what we can do, helping people with that end, some environmental issues, operations, HR, pretty much anything as far as operations go. Either we can assist or we can find the resources. As everyone else on this panel, we all work together. And so if we as an SBDC don't have what is being sought, we will refer them to the appropriate organization so they get what they need. On the webinar side, educational programming, we are fully webinar at this point, as are most organizations. And we are currently providing specific webinars on operations and pivoting and just dealing with many of the uncertainties that are occurring in the business community. We have also been named the Center of Excellence for Tourism, and that's an initiative through the CARES Act to provide specific assistance to companies in various industries that have been the hardest hit. And we were fortunate to be provided that opportunity. So we can work at any level that's needed. We've worked with all of the Beehive operations that are here joining us today. And we can be that resource for the entire thing that you might need, whatever you need, but we can also be the resource to get you to where you need to be.
Thank you, Maggie. Next, we'll have Catherine Easterling with Bridgeway Capital.
Hello, and thank you, Kyler. And I'm a former finance major as well, so I was really excited to hear that. So I wanted to introduce myself. I am Catherine Easterling. I am the Erie office director for Bridgeway Capital. So if you don't know Bridgeway Capital, we are a community development financial institution. And so our role has been within Western Pennsylvania for over 30 years to provide flexible, patient capital, creative capital to individuals and small business owners who have traditionally not either been bankable, where they're able to go to a bank for financing, or for areas that have not received traditional financing. So my role is part business development officer as well as loan officer as well. But I'm 100%, excited about the economic development within this area and what's going on within our group. And as Brad said and everybody else has said, is that there isn't a right way to start. And oftentimes I will interact and engage with people and say, you know what, you might want to start here, or maybe there will always be a warm handoff between all of our agencies, whether it's the Beehive, whether it's our SBDC, whether it's Bridgeway Capital. So a little bit about Bridgeway. We provide a lot of our main focuses are within healthy food financing, access to affordable housing. So we provide financing for things like that. And our mission is really to focus on women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, and business owners that are within low to moderate income areas. Within Bridgeway too, we not only just provide support in financing, but we also provide that technical assistance. So we have a lot of businesses that may come to us that say, I may not need capital, but I also need assistance with our bookkeeping. And so we have consultants within our institution to be able to assist our small business owners with all those type of things that necessarily to help our businesses to thrive. On top of the support and the capital that we provide, we also are in our second year for our Erie minority-owned business Accelerator program, and some of our participants are on today. And so part of that Accelerator program is to really look at and kind of what Jordan said, and that pre-seed, seed stage, where they have this concept and they want to build that concept into a business. And then also some of our minority businesses that have already started the kind of business walk, but want to look and do some of the foundational work too. So, within Bridgeway Capital, we really provide, the support, the capital, and the resources. And then if it's not within that mission, we always are able to connect to other resources within our Erie community as well. So I look forward to being part of. Sorry, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Catherine. Next, we'll have Erin Sikarak with Junior Achievement.
Oh, so it's Sikarak, but everybody messes that up, so that's okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Everybody messes it up. I'm used to it.
I'll remember it for next time.
Well, as you can see over my shoulder here, we are inspiring tomorrow. So Junior Achievement is the world's largest organization devoted to educating students about work readiness, entrepreneurship, and financial literacy through hands-on programs. We do this in partnership with the business and the education community. We bring the real world to students, opening their minds to their potential and preparing them for the world of work. Junior Achievement was founded in 1919, so I'm sorry, Maggie, but we're older than you. We're over 100. But we've only been in Erie since 2006, so we're still young here. But we serve as the foundation to entrepreneurial activity in our community. As the first time our children really get exposed to real hands-on entrepreneurship education. JA's programs are designed for students in the classroom or in after-school workshops in grades kindergarten through 12th grade. So we're really educating our next generation of successful entrepreneurs like yourself. So the programs are volunteer facilitated by caring adults in the community who want to make a difference to our youth. So shameless plug, if you want to volunteer, just holler at me. But what's great about our entrepreneurship programs is it's not just focusing on, this is exactly the steps you need to take to be a successful entrepreneur, but it is very all encompassing of how businesses work and work in your neighborhood all the way to the global organization. So it's a very comprehensive program. And we have about 30 different programs ranging between kindergarten and 12th graders. They are very grade specific. So, it's at the comprehension level of the students until you get to high school. And then between 9th and 12th grade, any high school programs go. So if you have students if you have kids right now that are in schools, they've probably had junior achievement programming. And if not, we are very interested in working with those schools. So that's me. I am the executive director of the Erie office because we are a global organization. I am part of Junior Achievement of Western Pennsylvania, which encompasses 50 counties of Western Pennsylvania and parts of West Virginia, but I have the pleasure of running the operations here in Erie County in the Northwest region of Yay. So that's us.
Thank you, Erin. And I will chime in that junior achievement is something that the Barron Black School of Business likes to talk a lot about. Jeff Coy, I'm not sure if you know him, but he likes to push that a lot, and I was planning on joining in. So thank you so much, Erin. Next, we'll have Trish.
You'll be running our Titan program.
Yep. Next, we'll have Trish Digliotto with Paramount Pursuits. And please correct me if I messed up your last name.
You did great, Kyler. Great job. Well, it's so cool to hear about all of the resources in Erie. Full disclosure, we're new to Erie. We're the new kid on the block here. My husband and I started Paramount Pursuits about 6 years ago down in Beaver County. We realized that there was a lack of resources in our county, specifically for people who may find that there are barriers to entrepreneurship. Much like Bridgeway, we work with people who are living in low-income communities, women, veterans. My husband's from Argentina, so we also work with some Hispanic business owners, minorities, and that is our target market. So we're looking to help people who maybe feel they're not quite ready to go to a university to get help. But you guys have met all these great university people on the call today, and see, they're really harmless. They're excited to help you. So what we do is we work with new businesses and existing businesses. Our program differs a little bit from what we've heard about so far in that we typically run a 12-month program. So in that, we do mentoring, we do networking, we do business education, we do accountability. As an entrepreneur, we know it could be lonely. We also know that there's no one really to hold us accountable for those things that we talk about doing. So our mentoring appointments are twice a month, and you will talk with your mentor about the things that you're hoping to complete, and that gives you some accountability in that process. The other area I feel like we are able to do, again, my husband's from Argentina, so we could do all of our programming in Spanish. One of the things that really excited us about Erie is you have a large new American population. And I myself moved to Argentina for a period of time when I met my husband. And that could be super intimidating to move to another country, not know the language, not know the culture. So we were excited to get to have the opportunity in Erie to potentially work with some people who are new Americans in our country. So we work with everything from developing the idea to finding funding to marketing plan, et cetera, much like several people on here. We also believe that we are much greater working together than we are individually. So we are all about sharing resources. If you guys say that you need help with something and Brian at Mercyhurst is the guy to go to, then we're gonna hand you off to Brian and then you're gonna come back and tell him about that awesomeness. So that is what we do at Paramount. We currently operate in Beaver County, Allegheny County, Erie County, and Philadelphia County. So definitely a broader area than where we started. I will tell you the reason we came to Erie, we actually do Main Street revitalization work in Beaver County as well. And there was a really cool conference that was happening in Erie last June. So we came up for the Main Street conference. It was a PA Downtown conference. And my husband and I we've been entrepreneurs for a long time. So we're sitting in this meeting and we looked at each other and said, the level of collaboration that is happening in Erie and the really cool things that are happening in Erie, we really wanted to find a way to be a part of it. We left the first day and called a real estate agent to find out about buying a house in Erie. So that's the impact that you guys all had on us in hearing about your entrepreneurial ecosystem and what you have going on in Erie. It's really quite awesome. So thank you for welcoming us with open arms to the Erie area.
Thank you, Trish. And last, but certainly just as importantly, we have Peter Zohos from the Mercyhurst Hospitality Management Program. Take it away.
Good evening, everyone. Actually, Trish, I wish my parents would have had a service kind of like yours when they first immigrated from Greece. It was really hard for them to get in and start the business and do various things. So that's awesome. That's really awesome. My name is Peter Zohos. I am the chair of the Hospitality Management Program, the Statler Department of Hospitality here at Mercyhurst University. I have been an entrepreneur and I bought and sold companies or restaurants, I should say more specifically, failed at them, had some help along the way and tripped a lot along the process, you know. I wish I would have had something similar to the environment I see here. I just didn't know where to look initially. And when I found it, it was great. Kyler, I have to tell you, I went through the program at Penn State. One of my projects in my entrepreneurship class was actually a business I started, which I later sold to Sarah Lee. End up being really educational. So you're in a good setting right there. What we do with a variety of our classes, our program is really known for its operations, understanding facilities and so forth. And typically what happens is our phone rings or someone knocks on my door here at the university and they say, you know, I have this idea. You know, and that's how it starts. You know, my grandmother makes a great chili. And I know it might be a little bit different, but what can we do? Where do we go from here? And we look for educational opportunities for our students to take something and see how that works. I'm confined by the semester system, you know, a little bit in terms of our classes, and timing, you know, is a lot, you know, or very important for us. But we look for that win-win situation where we could really help someone who's already in business or just getting started in business, and kind of really look at how their operation is running. And obviously we focus on hospitality businesses, but we have understanding of the events industry as well. So the exciting thing is to see our students thrive and sometimes get picked up by some of these companies for jobs later on as well. So it's a win-win overall. And we're really available to really assist people and kind of point them or maybe focus them a little bit more in terms of, I have this idea, primarily hospitality on, as we understand that, but focus the idea and really go forward. And I can tell you this dark cloud of COVID era business development and all this going on, it definitely has some silver linings to it. You know, it's really allowed people to pause and really understand that there's still opportunity, there's still hope, you know, there's still so much that can be done. There is definitely a silver lining out there. I mean, I was just trying to calculate in preparation of this, just the projects that my students had, you know, just talked to some people about over the last year and so forth. And the amount of activity that is going on in our industry, specifically in Erie County. I mean, we're trying to calculate, and I was, you know, just kind of throwing some round numbers out. You know, we're looking at $60+ million worth of just like restaurant type of development and repairs and facilities and so forth that are going on, and improvements that are being made in Erie County alone. So there is a lot of movement and there's a lot of people doing things out there. And this is really a great time to step back and really, it's sometimes really hard to just grab the ball and just keep running, right? You know, but right now we almost have a pause in the sense that, you know, we can anticipate the next move and anticipate creating something rather than just being in the fire constantly, you know. And people who go into the hospitality industry understand sometimes they're always in the fire and they don't have time to settle down and think that there is something more I could do with what I already have. You know, whether it's, you know, one gentleman, he wants to be the top. I know it sounds different, but he wants to be the #1 sauce in the United States, tomato sauce, marinara, and so forth. He's right here in Erie, you know, and I might be calling you, kind of directing some things here for him. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Peter. And thank you, everyone. So next, we'll start asking questions to specific panelists, but if anyone has anything else to add in, don't hesitate to chime in. We are a bit short on time. We have about 50 minutes left, so try and keep answers relatively short, but as long as you have something good to say, we'll keep it going. So first question, and this one will be directed at Brad. I have a great idea, but how do I get started?
Brad, you should start by unmuting yourself.
My apologies for that. There's the Northwest PA Beehive, which is easy. You can go to the internet and look up any of the providers that are on this call. As we said earlier, there's no wrong place to enter because you're going to get warning handoffs across the board. The Northwest PA Beehive obviously is kind of a entry-level way to kind of take your ideas and start mapping out your next steps before you move to both financing, SBDC, space, and other interests that you have as your business evolves. So I recommend first step is one of the beehives, and they'll position you to get the help you need. And Northwest PA Beehive is my first recommendation.
Thank you. And to follow up on that, if I want to try something, but I don't have a specific product in mind, like I have a solution I want to solve, but I don't necessarily know what to create to resolve it, what are some ways I can go about remedying that?
So I actually take the reverse, is that I'm a big believer in understanding the problem to create the solution. But there are a lot of engineers out there who do the reverse. They create a new device, a new feature, and then go out there and reach the market. A lot of times when I have somebody who says, I've got this great widget, I really turn them to Penn State Barron and let them go out there and prototype that idea. But I also encourage them to start exploring the problem. So that problem could be go to SBDC and start getting some deep market awareness, go to Mercyhurst and get some market intelligence. So there's a lot of different directions I would point them at one time to kind of explore the multiple aspects that you need to collect and understand in order to have a kind of a sense of where you want to go with this design or this solution that you've developed.
Thank you, Brad. Next, I have a question for either Jake or Jordan in regards to software and app development. If I need help with developing an application, what are some of the resources that are available for me?
I'll go first. So one option that's being developed right now is the app design feature at the Innovation Commons. However, app design is in huge demand, right? And we can't do 10 apps at once. One thing that I also encourage people to do first is look for the opportunity to contract that work out to a local business in your area. I think that's the priority number one. If you can afford to contract out work to have apps designed, you should. We have a lot of app design opportunities in Erie in terms of like contractors. They're very good at what they do. And that is, sort of what one of our main intentions, right, is economic development. So I would try to contract first. And if you need help connecting to one of those contractors, we can definitely hook you up with that. The other option, of course, is to start hunting for a co-founder, which I will, there are pros and cons to doing that, right? But there are some features in this, some people in this room that can probably help you think through that as well. Jordan, you have any thoughts on that? You have a lot of tech people at the your accelerator.
Yeah, I would say Erie might not be known nationwide as a tech hub, but there is a tremendous amount of talent here around that space. So if you're looking for developing an app or something, I would Google search Radius Cowork and send an email to Sean or Amanda over there, and they'll be able to hook you up with probably 15 or 20 people that would be able to take this and run. Another good thing about Erie is the price point is much less than it is elsewhere. So you're not going to run into that. When you Google search how much does it cost to get an app up and running, that price point is usually quoted for somewhere like New York or LA. In Erie, it's often much less than that. And then building off of what Jake said with the co-founder, it's almost always better to find someone else as a co-founder. If you're the business side and you need a technical co-founder, I would highly recommend that. It's almost always better to have a partner in it than go it alone. As it's been mentioned already, being an entrepreneur is incredibly lonely. So finding someone to go through it with you and split that work up so that you aren't wearing 50,000 hats, you can probably cut that down to about 25,000. If you find a good co-founder. So that's where I'd go with that. There are tremendous amount of resources for this as far as contracting out the work here in Erie.
Thank you, Jake and Jordan. Next, I'll move on to Catherine. So you mentioned how you help with funding businesses. And I wanted to ask, what's the floor? What does a business kind of need to have as in the onset if you're willing to start helping them with funding?
Sure. So what we look for is so I guess it depends what stage you're at within the business. So if you've already created a business, you have an existing business already, we won't necessarily need your business plan. But if this is a startup business that comes in and says, I'm looking to finance a store that's going to be able to have healthy food options. So first we like to see is there, projections. Do they have their business plan? Is it detailed enough? Is it specific enough to discuss some of those kind of foundational elements within a business plan? And then we always to make sure that they are, you know, they have their EIN, their federal identification number. So there's a couple things you have to be established as a business, whether you're an LLC or a sole proprietorship. You also have to have that business plan. At least 3 years worth of projections is what we like to look for. And this is times when they don't have that. This is always a warm handoff that we work very well with our SBDC to provide that type of that warm handoff and connection to them. And then those are the kind of the main things. And then of course, if they have to be mission aligned. So a woman-owned business, a minority-owned business, a veteran-owned business, or a business that is in a specific area, which is a low to moderate income area, and that is that information is determined through the U.S. Census. So if that we go by zip code, so we would have to find a business within that. So those are kind of the starting points with Bridgeway, what we'll look for. And then we'll have a very open dialogue if there's more information or more documents that may be needed to kind of get that started. But that's kind of the starting point with us.
Thank you, Catherine. And just to remind everyone out in the audience, please don't hesitate to send in any questions that you may have. I'll be definitely asking them to our panelists as we get them. So moving on, Trish, so you help a lot with business consulting. What are some of the things that you see, especially in Erie, that you help a lot with? I know you mentioned a bunch of different areas that you help out, but what are some patterns that you see within your business consulting practices in Erie that are kind of different from other areas that you've done business consulting with?
Sure. Well, so our entry into Erie was definitely interesting because we came in 2020, and of course with COVID, so many people just need help with COVID. It's like COVID effects, right? Like I don't know how to better market my business. I don't know how to, and the hated word, I don't know how to pivot my business during COVID to make sure that I could keep my doors open. So that's been very interesting. I think the other thing to know about like the entrepreneurs, and not specific to Erie, is when we see that something's not going right for an entrepreneur, it's not because they're trying to make it go that way. They just don't know any better. For instance, we see a lot of businesses that don't understand why they should be an LLC. If you're operating as a sole proprietorship, as a general contractor, you have a lot of liability. And it's not that they're trying to be defiant and not get an LLC. They just don't know why they should have an LLC. So I think the fact that you have so many resources to direct people to get that help is amazing in Erie. So no unique things I don't think I've seen yet to Erie specifically as far as what they need help with or other. We're seeing that across the board with COVID. An interesting thing, I think many people on here could relate to this. A couple of interesting things with the COVID effect has been, when COVID hit and government funding came to be, so many people didn't have paperwork. Their bookkeeping wasn't done. They couldn't find their LLC paperwork. They hadn't filed taxes in a few years. So all of this came to the surface. So I don't think that's unique to Erie at all, because we're seeing it across the other areas that we work with. But that has definitely been something we have been bombarded with in the last, since March. So I'm sure many other people are on here nodding heads that they've seen the same thing happen.
Thank you, Trish. And it's great to hear that the Erie community has resources to help those out during the tough times of COVID. Next, I'd like to ask a question to either Maggie or Peter about the restaurant industry. So as we know, typically when we hear about startups, it's really associated with tech, but I'd like to put a spotlight on those other industries that don't really get mentioned as much. So in regards to restaurant, if you want to, what are some of the differences that you see in between starting up a restaurant versus tech business? I know something is definitely the physical aspect, but are there differences in funding, how you go about building the business? And if so, what are some of the resources that people can take advantage of there?
I can start, Peter, and then I'd love your answer about the operations side because that's your gig. You've done it. Restaurant industry is highly competitive. And so you really have to be positioned and have a unique selling proposition to be able to infiltrate the already saturated market. There are more restaurants than people need. But we want more because we love to eat. And so there are restaurants everywhere and we want different ones. Restaurants are not as easily funded by your traditional banks. I know Catherine's definitely been helpful. Bridgeway has helped many of our food related businesses get the financing because traditional banks, especially if there is an alcohol related, if it's a bar restaurant, that is difficult to get traditional banking for. So we can assist in identifying some specific resources like Bridgeway that would be open to discuss a very highly competitive and difficult market. They are one of the highest industries to fail. Restaurants fail a lot more than other industries. And it's not as easy as people think. I run a catering company as well. I don't live in Erie. I work in Erie every day, so I commute, but I live in Mercer County and I run a catering company with my son. And so we both have food background and we've seen it. It's not as profitable as many people think. And so a lot of understanding of what it takes to run a restaurant can be handled during the business planning stage. When you look at the industry averages, you look at developing your business and what you're actually going to need, what your average inventory, et cetera. It can help to position you to hopefully be successful. There's never a guarantee, but if you go through the proper planning and you recognize the idiosyncrasies of running a restaurant, you'll have a much better chance than just deciding to open the doors and serve your favorite pizza. We love it and we encourage that entrepreneurship, but you need to go in with a calculated risk. And I think Peter can certainly talk to operations. He said he's operated and he's failed. He's seen it. And so please, Peter, some opinions, some things you have to bring to the table on that.
Big difference I see with restaurants specifically is the concept of perishability of your product. You know, you purchase products so you have it to sell. The issue is that people will frown on your product if it's always frozen, okay? However, the fresh product is also available, but you also have to charge more sometimes because you also have to take care of that part that went bad, you know? So the whole concept of perishability is a major concept. By the way, that also affects parking garages. It also affects hotels. You can't sell something that you already, you know, that is, well, its time has passed already, you know? So in terms of the restaurant, yeah, perishability is the number one area I see. The other one in terms of operational things, and we experience this here, and it's probably the biggest issue that I hear from people is the issue of steady labor, a steady labor force, okay? We live in a culture where we still see working in a restaurant as something we do until we do something else, okay? I had the pleasure to manage a restaurant in New York City where the actual employees bought the section that they served from the owner and they leased it out, okay? And these people would basically pay, you know, the owner $300 to $400 to lease out their section. The owner had established the whole thing. They were basically contractors, okay? And this restaurant was extremely successful. You still to this day cannot get a reservation there. Whereas in Erie, we don't have that mindset where I am a professional server. And by the way, you can make really good money if you look at yourself as a professional. You know, people still see it as something we do in between other things. And it's a cultural difference, you know. So when we look at that aspect of it, those two things, the perishability and the lack of steady employment, and it's that employment issue and having steady people to be able to operate in your business is the biggest complaint that we get from this industry across the board. It's always that. And in a way, I hate to say it, and I'm going to be a realist here, is that restaurant owners also created that in a way as well. They created that environment, I like what the newer generation is doing with restaurants. I'm really excited to see what they're doing because they are more focused on the experience and the person rather than just the business factor. And we're seeing that shift nationwide.
Thank you, Maggie and Peter. And just to reiterate part of the question, what are some of the resources that are available to help restaurants in the Erie community get started? I know you talked a lot about your experience in the industry and some of the issues that are there, but I want to make sure that everyone hears about some of the ways that they can get through the tough times.
Sure. Well, the business planning side and really understanding the industry, those are things that the SBDC can certainly provide. Mercyhurst, the marketing intelligence side in very specific areas, if it's something very unique. Peter and at Mercyhurst, they have great options there and great resources to help the individual restaurant owners. And within the SBDC network, we have a Center of Excellence of Hospitality, and we can do some, resources that way. So really developing your business plan, understanding the industry, the suppliers, the operations, that's definitely Peter's area, really being able to identify those, that supply chain to be able to have that inventory and understand how to manage it. So you're not throwing things away that need to be fresh and you're having the items properly stored and you can truly have a good experience. The customers can have a good experience with the food. So there's a number, the two local would be SBDC. The Beehive Network has the research side of it with Brian, and certainly Peter on the operations side, I think would be the three major, and we'd hand off as needed to the other resources on the panel for specific reasons.
I want to add really quick a figure that I'm going to throw up. In the previous summer of 2019, the pace of the business of food sold to restaurants in Erie County alone was around $180 million a year. Okay, so we have a market, a thriving market here. It's just we have some antiquated ways of running these operations.
Agree.
Thank you so much, Maggie and Peter. Next, I'll move on to Aaron with Junior Achievement. So you mentioned earlier that you've been here with since 2006, or at least Junior Achievement has been. And correct me if I'm wrong with that statement. So what are some of the changes in mindset and opportunity that you've seen in between when you were first getting started versus now?
Well, Junior Achievement has evolved in their 100 years. They were solely just an after-school program, and it was just the JA Company program where the students were entrepreneurs. They developed a company from start to finish. And then we realized we started evolving and what else needed to be included in that curriculum. And that's why you see financial literacy involved in that, workforce development skills also infused in the programming, because all of those things really are what you need to come together in order to have a successful business or be successful in life. So that transition took place in the 80s. What we are seeing now is Junior Achievement programs are evolving to be with the times and what's important for our students to learn now. So for example, we have the ability to develop programs locally. Most of our programs are developed on the national level, That comes right out of Colorado Springs, where our headquarters are, but we do have the opportunity to develop programs that are important for our students in our industries where they are now. So for example, Careers in Energy is one of those programs that's a local developed programming, knowing that a lot of our industry is in Western Pennsylvania anyway, in manufacturing, in that kind of industry that we're trying to develop and gear our students to go into. So knowing that that is an industry in our area that we need to build more of an employment pipeline or a career pipeline to, that's why we developed that program too. So we're always like having our ear to the ground of what's going to be important for our students to learn because of what is going on in our local economy, to develop those programs that are going to be useful for them to find careers once they are able to be educated adults going into the workforce.
Awesome, thank you. And is there anything that you've seen recently that's surprised you in comparison to years of the past, for how students have been able to think of different business ideas or bring them into fruition, or maybe even the pipeline that's available to those students for making their businesses a reality?
Well, unfortunately for myself, being involved with junior achievement for 4 years, and our students in our classrooms haven't chosen a lot of the entrepreneurial programs yet. We've had a couple do them. So most of the stories you're going to hear come from other areas of JA. I apologize that I can't really offer any real great student successful entrepreneurial programs coming out of our area, because we're still young here. We're still developing in Erie.
No problem. Thank you. Next, we'll have Tony. So let's see. With you mentioned how you help out with branding, marketing, podcasting. How do I want to word this? Have there been any changes that you've seen recently with how businesses come and get help with you, help from you in regards to all this marketing? Maybe even what kind of shifts have you seen in how businesses go about their marketing?
Well, one of the things we've seen with several of our clients is, COVID has affected everybody, and it's shut almost everything down. And, the most recent example, that's kind of how we got pulled in this summer with the Erie Blues and Jazz Festival. To John Vanko and those folks, to their credit, just because they didn't play music out in Frontier Park, they didn't let that fact stop the festival from happening. They used creativity. They partnered with WQLN and some other radio stations, provided an alternate format, an alternate platform. And the social media management of that was important. And the same thing I would say right now, in January of 2020, we met with Prescal Partnership, and we had planned to develop a full marketing communication plan for them to rebrand their Discover Prescal, their signature event, their main summer festival. Of course, March came and we waited a while, and it was April and May. We've been waiting for this to blow over, and it looks like it's going to take some more time for it to blow over. So obviously that got shut down. But again, to their credit, the creative thinking, they came up with this Prescal Lights, the idea to use in December, weekends in December and through New Year's, the beauty of the park, to light it up, not to turn it into North Pole South, but to give it somewhat of a holiday flavor, but to do it while enhancing the natural resources and the natural beauty of the park. Those were just two clients there that if they hadn't engaged in that creative thinking, everything would have just slid to a halt. And so I credit them and their leadership for not surrendering, for not saying COVID is going to shut us down completely, and to find different ways of operating. And we were able to adjust with that, where the focus, it was not a face-to-face, more emphasis was on social media, more emphasis was on other areas. But I compliment that kind of spirit. Those clients, they're not necessarily businesses, but they're hugely important nonprofits to this region, and they wouldn't be denied. And I'm proud that the Beehive played at least a small part in helping them make those adjustments.
Thank you, Tony. And that story is definitely inspirational. It's nice to hear that some people are able to make it through COVID setbacks, even if they have to change how they go about doing that, doing what they want to do. Sometimes that force of change ends up sparking an idea that was better than the original. So to follow up on that, what are some of the advancements that you've seen in the services that you've been able to offer since the onset, as opposed to currently?
Well, I think if you're focusing on our Beehive and the marketing and branding, I mean, I think just like we're doing everything through Zoom, social media has taken a much higher significance, and social media, played a huge part and will play a huge part, in the upcoming event. And it played a huge part for the Blues and Jazz Festival. So I just think, that's been the main change. That's been the main focus, just adjusting from face to face to alternate platforms. And fortunately, I have great social, as you could probably tell, if you would profile me, you would say, this dude is not a social media dude. And your profile would be accurate. But I'm fortunate enough that I'm able to surround myself with a couple of really creative, technically hip, creative thinking people. And that's really kept the dream alive for a lot of these clients and a lot of their projects.
I'm going to jump in on this one too, because the products that we've seen in our own product development service have changed. I mean, naturally, right? You'd expect there to be a burst of mask designs and shield designs, and that absolutely did happen. It happened early on and it happened immediately. So that's sort of what you expect. Brian is smiling because he was one of them. He was one of our clients with Northeast High School. We worked on developing a shield that would help the football players while they were practicing have a little bit more protection. And so that's sort of the nature of entrepreneurship, is as soon as there is a shift, people shift. People see opportunities, and that is not always 100% profit driven. That is very often driven by altruistic goals as well. So there is a lot of people really care a great deal about what's going on, and they want to help in any way that they can, and that happened immediately. We're glad. Actually, all the Beehives are still open too. I should mention that. I didn't mention that at the beginning, but we're all still doing our thing, and in fact, and likewise, every other service that you see here in the room, all still working. So regardless of whether campuses are open or not, we're still all doing our thing. And actually, this has kind of triggered us to learn how to do that better. And I'm going to plug one more thing, which is that's also kind of forcing us to learn better interactions with people that live a little further away, which, at least as the Beehive network, is also part of like what we're planning on doing, which is extend our service area to a broader region, about 100 miles in every direction. So we think that in the process of, so we also think that so naturally we want to help all of these people too with their great ideas, but in the process of that, we think we are going to discover and be able to partner with and leverage resources that are outside of this community. So if you're going to see anything in this ecosystem, you're going to see growth. So And actually, it's kind of only been weirdly helped by what's going on.
Thank you for the insight, Jake. Next, I'd like to pivot over to Brian with market research. What are some of the advancements that you've seen in your market research capabilities that that businesses are now able to take advantage of now as in comparison to maybe 5 years ago?
Well, to start off with that question, the advancements we've really seen is in the quality of our students, to be quite honest. The program, when originally stood up at the school, was a lot of strategic intelligence related or homeland security related programs and training. However, we have pivoted with our competitive business intelligence programs, starting with our faculty and then going to our students. And we've really developed a program here, a robust program that allows for these students to understand what competitive business intel is, but how it actually applies to certain industries and markets. But to push it past that, our Beehive has been operating now, and it started under Brad Gleason, but our Beehive has been operating enough years now and doing this enough. And with the clientele that have come to us, we have been able to expand our databases and our resident knowledge of industries and of specific marketplaces. And having that understanding makes us better at providing the information or getting more in the weeds of finding that data. So realistically, our research and collection capabilities, as they are relevant to that entrepreneur's idea or that business owner's expansion ideas, has we have come miles and miles from where we were 5 years ago in understanding business competitive intelligence, understanding what an entrepreneur needs in the way of data to branch out to the other resources that are out there, not only in the Beehive on this panel, but that are in the ecosystem itself. And we internally have been able to understand how that data actually affects the rest of the resources they're going to use. So we've been able to get it a lot more specified in the way of a product that we can provide to a client to walk away with. So the long answer to your short question is our processes, our understanding of the industry and marketplaces, and our program overall in training our students and providing a better education to our students in the competitive business intelligence curriculum has really expanded our ability to increase that research and collection, which has increased the data and the quality of the data we've been able to provide entrepreneurs.
Thank you, Brian. And market research is definitely something that that could be called the backbone of business development. Without it, it's kind of hard to figure out what areas you need to compete in regards to other businesses.
Absolutely, and on that, one thing we try to portray to entrepreneurs and we try to portray to business owners looking to expand is you're not expected to be the expert in finding that information. You're not expected to be able to have this capabilities and understand the processes that are needed to do that research and collection. That's why we exist. So what I tell a lot of them is you don't need to have all that data to start getting your idea or getting in the door with getting your idea off the ground. Come to the experts, come to us. We will do that research and collection for you. We will provide that data. And once you go to the other capabilities within the Erie ecosystem, entrepreneurial ecosystem, you can come back to us at any time and ask any of us for further help. We're not a fire and forget type of ecosystem, which is great here. What we are is you're going to go out and you're going to take your idea and it's going to grow and it's going to grow and it's going to grow. And as it grows, you're going to need more information. You can come back to any of us at any time for multiple projects or multiple efforts of support until you've become that multi-million-dollar, company, or your revenue is increased to a point where we're no longer needed to provide support to you. So we're here for you. We're the experts. Come to us. We'll help you get your business successful.
Thank you, Brian. And I'd like to ask Jude one last question before we open up the floor for one last question, since I haven't gotten any questions from the audience as of yet. So Jude, with the Idea Lab and helping out the community, what are some of the, you mentioned all the free resources that are available to the community for helping, it seems mostly on the production side of things. Do you have any numbers that you can spout off to the audience in regards to how much people are able to save going through the library, helping to get prototypes and stuff like that, in comparison to if they had gone somewhere else?
Yeah, sure. So there'll be soft numbers, but so 3D printing, we charge 10 cents a gram. So if you had something about the size of this pen, you're talking 50, 60 cents. If we're to use an online kind of 3D printing place, it might be $25, $30. So that's just a quick thing. It also allows you to just quickly prototype, because we're teaching you how to design, slice, and then actually print. So you print something, you can quickly see if that's what you want. You're starting to understand the process, and you can modify it fairly quickly. We have a vinyl cutter that is free to use. You bring in your own material. So if you want to make like a sign for your wall that is 2 foot by 1 foot, that's 50 cents. If you want to do a 3 foot by 6 foot poster full color, that's $5. Which comparatively might be, $45, $50 at a print service. The goal of that is not to be competitive with local businesses. Our pricing structure will limit you. You're not going to be able to do 10 of those posters every week. We really want to incentivize it to be for prototypes, for very early startups, or for nonprofits, those kinds of things. But yeah, I mean, the idea is accessibility, and one of those things is cost. The other part, frankly, is accessibility to education and to learn what those tools are. So if you have a woodworker who's 50 years old and is used to using a Dremel tool, we have a CNC machine. And so you can expand your capabilities in production if you learn that CNC machine. You don't have to go to university or any kind of technical school to do that. If you're willing to put in a little sweat and listen to me blabber on, you can learn how to use a CNC machine. So I think hopefully that answers your question.
It sure does, Jude, and thank you. I wish I could ask everyone even more questions, but we only have about 10 minutes left. So I'm going to open the floor for one more question that really anyone and everyone please pitch in for this one. And that question is, where do you see growth leading the Erie community in the next 5 to 10 years? I know there's been a lot of growth in the past 5 to 10 years, and I'd like to give everyone a sort of taste of what's to come.
I'll kick off. I think COVID has opened up a new world of possibility for workforce. There are tremendous amounts of people that are coming back to, whether that's because they're coming home from other cities or they are looking for lower cost of living now that they can work remote. It's a tremendous opportunity for Erie. And that will grow our workforce capabilities. It'll grow our entrepreneurial resources and the network and everything that comes with that. I think that we'll be seeing a lot more opportunities coming out of this. I think Erie has positioned itself well to come out stronger than it was going in.
And to jump in off of what Jordan's also talking about with that Erie being a great hub for growth. A lot of people don't think about it, but our IT infrastructure is not stressed by any means in the Erie region. We should be a prime candidate, not only for small businesses, but for large businesses and corporations to move some of those headquarters to this area. A lot of the cities that are out there right now, a lot of largely populated areas, the infrastructure on the IT side is so stressed that it is hard even for small businesses to get up and running and get that proper infrastructure in place. We have a full capability here to not only with what we currently have, but to expand on that and take on a lot of businesses on the infrastructure and IT side of business.
And I want to tack on that to say, and I've got to give Kathy an opportunity to jump in here in just a moment, but I'm going to say one thing first. There are a lot of organizations that have been growing in parallel for years, right? And they are starting to intersect more and more and more, which is great. So you get 10 years ago, particularly about 5 years ago, a burst in people making moves, right, to make resources available for entrepreneurs, and for entrepreneurs to finally be like, all right, I'm gonna do my thing right now, right? And so this sudden kind of explosion of things that have been growing in parallel and kind of bumping off of each other, but they're really starting to merge and intersect. So there's a lot more collaboration going on than there has in the past. There's a lot more communication, a lot more trust, many fewer barriers, and a lot more, that's just working better. And I think that's going to continue and only grow from there. And Kathy, I know you've got something you wanted to jump in for. If you can right now, that'd be great.
Thank you very much, Jake. I couldn't find my mouse. So before we wrap things up, I just wanted to announce the lucky winners. So for today's last $50 gift card that we were handing out throughout all of these panel discussions, we are proud to announce that Deanna Martin is our winner of a $50 gift card to El Amigos, as well as 1 hour of business consulting services from Trish and Paramount Pursuit. So round of applause to Deanna. But then if we had a drum roll, I'm really excited to announce that Kelly Burkhart is our grand prize winner. She has attended every single one of our panel discussions, and she will be receiving information. We'll have 3 months of free rent here at the Erie Technology Incubator, as well as accounting services and business consulting services galore. So congratulations, and to both of our winners, I will be reaching out via email. And now I will turn it back to Kyler for some closure.
Thank you so much, Kathy. So I believe we had an excellent discussion here talking about all the resources that are available in the Erie community, all aspects of the Beehive, as well as the institutions that provide funding for all the businesses in the community. There's definitely a lot of growth that's available in the Erie community, and there's a lot of resources here to bolster that growth. As someone from outside, it's definitely a thrilling opportunity that I see here, and I hope to start a business myself someday. And when I do, I'll definitely be getting help from everyone here. So unless anyone wanted to add something in before we close out, looks like Brian wants to add something.
I've just got to say it. I don't think anybody has said it throughout this entire week. Kathy, excellent job, Kathy, in coordinating this, getting it all set up, putting it together. So I'd just like to say, since we're ending it, it's the last one. Great job, Kathy.
Oh, thank you very much. It was a pleasure, and just doing my part to help everyone that's in our community, taking their idea to some type of fruition. So thank you.
Thank you. And
thank you.
I don't know, is there anyone else that wants to add anything in? That's pretty much all I have. Okay.
I'm gonna miss getting emails from Kathy.
Let me check the comments one more time just to make sure I didn't miss anything.
That's very funny, Jordan.
It was a certainty every time I opened my email, and it made me smile every time.
Brian kind of faked me out, and he gave me an idea. When he leaned back, I thought he was saying goodbye. Maybe in unison we should just pull the Brian and say goodbye.
Yeah.
Yep, I think that's about it. So why don't we just conclude it? Thank you so much for everyone in the audience who came to join us. I look forward to seeing everyone join in our future panels, whenever they may happen. Have a good one.